What's that sound? It's for amusement only, the EM and Bingo Pinball Podcast.
Welcome back to For Amusement Only. This is Nick Baldridge. So I got the motor reinstalled in Gaytime, and to do that, I had to punch out a second roll pin. So there is a set of metal cogs, or cams, which are attached via the roll pin to the shaft of the motor. Those I had taken out of the game along with the motor, the bad one, and there's a second roll pin which attaches it to the main part of the shaft. So the trick is, when you reinstall it, that there's really only one way it can go. And you just have to make sure that it matches. To do this, I wound my motor, the new one, until it was in the same position as the existing one, the bad one. Punched out the cams, the pin, took the cams off, and then put the cams back on, put the pin back on, and then took it over to the game and installed it to the shaft. Now, what makes this a little tricky is that the shaft for the control unit has to line up exactly with the shaft of the motor. If it doesn't, if it's even a hair off, it's going to be very, very difficult to reassemble. The other thing is that the search disc is attached on the other side of the control unit, and if you don't loosen all of those mechanics, it's very, very, very difficult to adjust the shaft at all. So all these things are just things to consider. You can still do it with the search wipers installed. It's just more difficult. So, I got the motor, put it back in, reinstalled the roll pins, soldered the wires that provide the power to the motor, and then I turned it on. And it worked. Everything worked perfectly. As far as the motor turning, that is. And there were a couple bugs that were created. So, what I did was I started up a game. And I left the back glass out, folded up the backer board, and then just hit the coin switch over and over and over again, trying to get a good game as far as features go so I could test everything. So on my first game, I think I had the third magic line lit, and I had the magic pockets lit, and I shot my game. I didn't end up moving the magic lines, and I got 5 in a row. That's very unlikely to happen again anytime soon. So I played a good handful of games tonight, and certainly didn't come anywhere near 5 in a row. I did get 3 in a row. I was pretty proud of that. Took me about 7 games to get that far. A couple things that I had a problem with. The first was that one of the Magic Pockets buttons, it uses a left and right button similar to the Magic Screen games. to control the Magic Pocket's direction. That wouldn't fire moving to the right. It worked to the left just fine, but right didn't work at all. Looking in the back of the game, those coils are controlled by a relay, one for the left and one for the right. And actuating the coil for the right did in fact fire all the coils, which moved the pockets, the balls. So I figured it was a switch adjustment. The other thing that was happening was that it wasn't counting replays correctly. This was caused by a slight misadjustment in the search wipers. Both of those things were very easily corrected, and now the gay time plays perfectly. The only knock I have against it is that it's an incredibly stingy game when it comes to extra balls. It probably takes 1,000 nickels to get an extra ball. It's not that bad, but it's pretty bad. It takes a good handful to get anything going there. It's not that stingy on the features or the odds jumps. It's just the extra balls. And I took a look at the unit. Usually that's because of something going on either with one of the cams, one of the sets of switches, or the trip relay, or it's the extra ball unit. And the unit's just fine. The control unit switches appear to be fine. I have not taken apart the trip relay, but I thought I was going to have to when I pushed the yellow button and I dropped in a nickel, and the extra ball light went off. Then I drop in another nickel, and instead of playing for an extra ball, it actually dumped my game and started a new one. So, something that I learned, not having played any of these wood rail games not set on free play, is that if you are playing for extra balls, you have to push the yellow button every time you put in a nickel. I guess the idea was you would just hold it down and put in your nickels. That's quite different than the way that the extra balls work on any of the other more modern bingos, where you push the yellow button and it puts it into extra ball mode. At that point, you pump in nickels and it's going to try to step up the extra balls eventually. But on these older machines, and it must be ones that don't have pick and play. I don't have any machines, or I didn't previously, that didn't have pick and play. And of course, the Magic Screen games that Steve Smith has here locally have pick and play. And when I play these games on free play at say, the York Show, I don't have that problem because I just push the button until I get the thing that I want. So, it's just interesting. The gameplay difference there with the extra balls, it makes it a lot, you have to play for extra balls with intention where you didn't necessarily before. Just an interesting difference. So, gay time is going, and everything is working just fine. It's a beautiful game. It's back against a wall. Everything is looking great. So, I've started work on Nightclub, but I'll start talking about that in tomorrow's episode. Thank you again for joining me. My name again is Nick Baldridge. You can reach me at foramusementonlypodcast@gmail.com. You can listen to us on iTunes, Stitcher, Pocket Casts, via RSS, on Facebook, on Twitter at Bingo Podcast. You can follow me on Instagram at nbaldridge, or you can listen to us on our website, which is foramusementonly.libsyn.com. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll talk to you next time.